Every day, millions of brilliant, highly articulate adults just completely lose their voices.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not because of a medical condition or, a sudden disaster. It's simply because someone looked at them, smiled, and asked three simple words. Where are you from?
It really is the ultimate universal icebreaker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether you're at a networking event or waiting for a meeting to start or just chatting at a coffee shop, I mean, that question is absolutely guaranteed to come up.
Right. But if you are currently learning English, that innocent little question can suddenly feel like a trap.
Oh, for sure.
It's like someone just handed you a giant, totally blank canvas, shoved a paintbrush in your hand, and said, quick, paint a perfect, highly detailed picture of your entire life and culture. Go.
Right, and what happens? Your mind just goes completely blank.
Exactly. You know everything about your hometown, obviously. You have decades of rich memories.
Yeah.
But finding the English words to translate that history into a casual conversation, well, it feels like climbing a mountain without a rope.
That is a perfect description of language anxiety. I mean, it's a moment of pure panic for so many language learners.
Yeah.
You have all these vivid details in your head, the smell of the bakeries, the noise of the traffic, the way the air feels in December. But the bridge to share those specific details just isn't built yet.
Right. So out of fear, you just retreat.
Exactly. You end up just saying the name of your city, maybe adding, "It's nice," and stopping there. The canvas stays blank, and the conversation dies.
Which is such a massive missed opportunity to connect with someone. So what if it didn't have to be a terrifying blank canvas? What if instead you had a simple, reliable, paint-by-numbers blueprint?
That would change everything.
It really would. And that's our mission for this deep dive. Today, we're pulling from a fantastic instructional lesson from Tim's English channel. We're going to extract their structural blueprint for how to clearly describe your hometown in English.
And because this deep dive is specifically tailored for you, the English learner, we're actually structuring our own conversation today a little differently. We're going to speak at a deliberate, measured pace.
Right. No rushing, no chaotic slang, and no overly complicated academic jargon. We are keeping the vocabulary accessible and clear.
But, don't let the deliberate pace fool you. The psychology behind this lesson is incredibly smart.
It really is. By the time we finish this, no matter what your current English vocabulary level is, you will have the exact structural tools to answer that universal question with total confidence.
Because confidence in a new language isn't about knowing every single word in the dictionary. It's about having a structure you can trust. When you have a solid framework, the fear of making a mistake just kind of starts to evaporate.
Okay, let's unpack this blueprint. Before you can paint a picture of what your hometown looks like, you have to anchor the listener in physical space. It's like dropping a pin on a digital map. First, you show the whole country, then you zoom in on the exact coordinates.
Yeah, you're establishing the geographical foundation. Without it, the listener is just sort of floating in space.
Right, so the lesson from Tim's English channel says the easiest way to start is just the name. I am from Tokyo, or I am from London.
Sure, the big ones.
But unless you're from a global megacity, the other person probably won't recognize the name at all. So you zoom out and give the location. You tell them the country or the general region. I'm from Chicago, it is in the United States, or it is located in the north.
Right, you're guiding their mental map from the broad picture right down to your specific spot.
Exactly. But the lesson adds one more crucial piece to this initial mapping stage, which is size. Is it a big city with millions of people, or a small place like a small town in Italy with maybe 5,000 people? Now, doing this instinctively feels right, but why? Why do we instinctively feel the need to qualify the population size right after giving the location?
Well, what's fascinating here is how size instantly calibrates the listener's mental expectations. Before you describe a single building, a single park, or a street, telling someone the size provides the scale of your background.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it loads a very specific set of assumptions into the listener's brain.
It's like telling someone the genre of a movie before the movie starts playing.
Precisely. Think about the contrasting imagery. If you tell me I am from a tiny village of 500 people, my brain automatically generates a picture of a tight-knit community.
Right.
I'm going to assume you know most of your neighbors. The pace of life is probably unhurried. Maybe there's a lot of open space. But if you say, I'm from a massive city of 10 million people, my brain completely shifts gears.
Yeah, totally a different movie.
Exactly. Now I'm imagining crowded subway trains, towering skyscrapers, fast-paced living, and, constant background noise.
So you've essentially built the entire foundation of the house before you've even picked out the paint colors. Just by giving the name, the location, and the size, the listener knows exactly where we are on the globe and the basic rhythm of the environment.
It is an incredibly efficient use of just 3 simple pieces of information.
But a pin on a map is just geometry, right? Knowing my city has 10 million people gives you the scale, but it doesn't actually tell you what it feels like to stand on my sidewalk.
No, it doesn't.
To do that, we have to turn on the street view camera, which brings us to the next layer of the blueprint: appearance and senses.
This is where we transition from objective geography to the visual and sensory experience of daily life.
Right, switching from the 2D map to the 3D street view. The source material focuses heavily on daily sights, using very basic adjectives, words like big, small, old, new, busy, and quiet. So you're describing a big city. The lesson suggests focusing on things like tall, modern buildings, streets that are busy with cars and buses, and an atmosphere that is very loud and lively.
Setting up that urban feel.
Exactly. Alternatively, for a country setting or nature, you might describe beautiful green mountains, a big blue lake, and a peaceful environment.
It sets up a very clear contrast between the manufactured energy of a city and the organic calm of nature.
It does, and they provide a really charming example for a small town. My hometown is small and quiet. It has old houses and beautiful trees. There's a small river in the center.
I love that one.
It's great. But I am looking at this list of adjectives.
Well,
Big, old, busy, quiet. And honestly, if I'm studying a language, this feels a little bit elementary.
I see where you're going.
Yeah. Isn't it tempting for English learners to try and use really complicated vocabulary here just to sound impressive? Like, why is it better to stick to words like busy or quiet when you can say bustling or picturesque?
It is an incredibly common trap. When we learn a language, we obviously want to prove our competence. We want to show off the fancy words we spend hours and hours studying.
Right, exactly.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture of communication, simplicity is actually an advanced strategy.
Wait, really? Simplicity is an advanced strategy. How does that work?
Well, think about what happens when you use highly complex vocabulary in casual conversation. You risk creating severe cognitive overload, and it actually happens on both sides of the dialogue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For you, the speaker, trying to recall a sophisticated word like idiosyncratic under pressure creates immense stress. You might pause, you might stutter, and suddenly you lose the entire rhythm of the conversation.
It's like trying to juggle 5 bowling pins when you really only need to toss a tennis ball.
Yeah.
The word quiet gets the job done instantly without risking a total conversational crash.
That is a great analogy. And the overload happens to the listener, too. Remember, English is the global language of business and travel. The person you are speaking to might also be speaking it as a second or third language.
Oh, that's true.
If you throw a complicated, obscure word at them, they might have to stop and mentally translate it. And the moment they start analyzing your vocabulary, they have completely stopped imagining your hometown.
So the goal of describing where you're from isn't to pass a vocabulary exam. The goal is to project a clear image into someone else's mind as smoothly as possible.
Exactly. Basic adjectives like busy, quiet, old, and new are universally understood. They don't require heavy mental processing at all. They immediately paint the picture, allowing you and the listener to actually connect on a human level. You are removing the friction from the interaction.
Okay, that completely changes how I view those basic words.
Yeah.
They aren't beginner words, they are low-friction words.
Yes.
So we've dropped our pin on the map, and we've given them a clear, low-friction look at the streets and the landscape. But scenery isn't culture. A quiet street with old houses could be in Germany or Japan or Argentina.
Exactly.
To really capture the essence of a hometown, we have to give it a unique character.
We have to give the listener a compelling reason to care about this specific place on the map.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. I think of this next step like handing your new friend a postcard. According to the lesson, this phase is all about sharing what the place is famous for. And interestingly, the material heavily prioritizes 2 specific categories: famous places and famous food.
The ultimate cultural highlights.
Yes. For instance, the lesson suggests simple formats like, my hometown is famous for spicy noodles, or we have the best seafood.
Very clear.
Or, if you're focusing on a landmark, you could say, my city is famous for a big old castle, or we have a beautiful white beach. They even combine them in one of my favorite examples for the material. I am from Paris. It's famous for the Eiffel Tower and delicious bread.
It's incredibly straightforward, but it immediately injects personality into that geographical outline we built earlier.
It does, but it makes me wonder about human nature. Why are local food and local landmarks always the ultimate, universal icebreakers?
It's true, they always are.
Right. No matter where you go in the world, when you meet someone from a totally different culture, the conversation inevitably gravitates toward what you eat or a famous building you live near. Why is that?
Well, this raises an important question about how we connect, because those things represent tangible points of cultural pride. When we talk about population size or whether a town is in the north or the south, we are just trading objective geographical facts.
Right, which is helpful but dry.
Exactly. Facts are useful, but they're dry. When we pivot to talking about the spicy noodles we eat or the castle we walk past, we move the conversation from the objective to the deeply subjective human experience.
We're taking them off the map and inviting them to sit at a dinner table.
Yes. Because everyone, regardless of their native language, understands the comfort of a good meal. Everyone understands the awe of standing in front of a massive, ancient structure. These are shared sensory experiences.
I love that.
And the specific food or landmark you choose to highlight actually reveals a great deal about what you or your culture value most.
Oh, that's fascinating. Give me an example of how a simple choice of a postcard reveals deeper values.
Well, imagine you tell a stranger that your town is famous for an ancient stone fortress that has stood for 1,000 years. Without using complex words, you are subtly communicating that your culture values history, endurance, and preservation.
Okay, yeah.
But if you tell them your town is famous for a chaotic, vibrant night market that sells spicy street food until 3 in the morning, you are communicating a culture that values energy, community, and warmth.
That is incredibly powerful. Even with a limited, accessible English vocabulary, you are secretly giving them a window into the soul of your hometown. You're telling them who your people are, just by mentioning bread or a night market.
The postcard you choose to hand them matters. It builds the emotional bridge between your world and theirs.
All right, so we have the map, we have the street view, and we handed them a postcard full of cultural flavor. Now we reach the final layer of our blueprint. And I'm looking at this step, and honestly, it feels a little bit like a cliche. It's the weather.
Ah, the single most discussed topic in the English language.
It really is. The source material gives very practical advice here. It says to keep weather descriptions simple. Focus on the seasons and use basic descriptive words. The summer is very hot and sunny. The winter is cold and snowy. Or, if you live near the equator and don't have 4 distinct seasons, it suggests saying something like, the weather is warm all year, but it rains a lot in the summer.
It is a very clean, effective way to summarize a climate.
It is clean. But I have to ask, are we really telling learners to just use small talk here? Is talking about the weather actually an important part of describing a hometown? Or is it just polite filler? Because we don't know what else to say. It's the ultimate safety net, right?
It is so easy to dismiss the weather as just polite filler, especially in English culture where it's, a running joke. But in the context of describing where you are from, it is absolutely not filler.
Well,
The weather is the invisible hand that shapes every single thing we just talked about in the previous steps.
wait, how so? The weather shapes the postcard.
Think about it. The weather dictates the entire lifestyle and rhythm of a hometown. Let's look at a concrete contrast. Imagine comparing Sapporo, Japan in the winter to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Okay.
In Sapporo, the heavy, constant snow dictates the architecture. The roofs might be slanted to let the snow slide off. It dictates the famous food. You're going to eat steaming bowls of rich, hot ramen to stay warm. It dictates how people dress, how they travel, and how much time they spend indoors.
Whereas in Rio, the endless sunshine and heat mean flat roofs, light clothing, fresh seafood by the beach, and a culture centered around being outdoors all the time.
Exactly. So if you don't tell the listener about the weather, they don't actually know the town. Knowing if a place is buried in snow for 4 months, or if it is hot and humid all year round, allows the listener to truly imagine what it takes to live in that environment.
It adds the atmosphere.
Right. It adds the temperature to the mental picture you were painting.
It's the final layer of reality, because a castle looks very different in a sunny blue sky than it does covered in thick fog and rain. Okay, let's look at how the source material puts this entire puzzle together. Rather than just giving us a list of rules, the lesson provides a beautifully constructed example from a character named Alex. Let me read Alex's introduction first, and then we can look at the load-bearing words that hold it all up.
I'd love to hear how Alex brings the 4 steps together.
Here is Alex's full description. Hello, my name is Alex. I am from a town called Seaside. It is located in the south of my country. It is a small and quiet town. We have beautiful beaches and old, colorful houses. My hometown is famous for fresh fish. In the summer, the weather is hot and sunny. I love my hometown very much.
It is brilliant because it flows so naturally, yet it is entirely built on the rigid structure we just discussed.
It really is. When you pull it apart, you can see 5 key structural vocabulary concepts acting as the pillars of that short paragraph.
Let's hear them.
First, there is the concept of the hometown itself, establishing that this isn't just a place on a map, but the place where Alex's personal roots are. Then, the word located, which tells the listener's brain to prepare for geographical coordinates, in this case, the south.
And then Alex moves right into the visual descriptors.
Right, using those low friction words we talked about.
Yeah.
Busy, or in Alex's case, quiet, meaning peaceful and making little noise. Then the postcard moment, using the word famous, signaling that they're about to share a point of cultural pride, the fresh fish.
By embedding those core words, hometown, located, quiet, famous Alex doesn't have to invent a new conversational wheel.
So what does this all mean? Alex's introduction is like the perfect recipe. A pinch of location, a dash of description, and a slice of famous food. But I want to ask you, how does having this exact blueprint help a learner who is normally paralyzed by shyness?
Because it completely removes the burden of spontaneous decision-making. When you are shy, or you lack confidence in your vocabulary, the hardest part of a conversation isn't actually pronouncing the words. The hardest part is deciding what information to share next.
Oh, yeah.
Your brain is trying to sort through millions of memories while simultaneously translating grammar.
It's like trying to draw the architectural blueprints while you are already trying to hammer the nails into the wood. You're doing 2 massive jobs at once.
Exactly. This 4-step framework, location, appearance, famous traits, weather, completely removes the panic of improvising. You don't have to scramble to figure out what to say. You know, step 1 is the map, step 2 is the street, step 3 is the food or landmark, step 4 is the climate.
You just fill in the blanks with your own life.
Right. It transforms a terrifying, infinite blank canvas into a safe, manageable, paint-by-numbers exercise.
It gives you permission to be simple. And through that simplicity, you actually achieve genuine fluency. You aren't stumbling over complex grammar. You are just walking someone through your home, room by room.
Fluency isn't about complexity. Fluency is about moving information seamlessly from your mind into someone else's.
I think that is a massive breakthrough for anyone listening right now who feels stuck or nervous about speaking. Describing your hometown isn't a test of how many obscure English adjectives you can memorize. It is about using a clear, predictable structure to invite a stranger into your world.
Communication is always about connection, not perfection.
So we want to invite you, the listener, to put this into practice today. The source material ends with a question of the day, and we want you to answer it for yourself right now. You don't need to write a massive essay. Just focus on the final 2 steps of the blueprint. Write down 2 simple sentences using this format. What is the weather like in your hometown, and what is your hometown famous for?
Just 2 sentences to start building that muscle. The weather is, and we are famous for.
For example, the weather in my hometown is cold and snowy in the winter. We are famous for incredibly hot, spicy soup. It really is that easy. Take out a piece of paper or open a note app on your phone and try it before you forget. Build your own postcard.
You know, breaking down this blueprint brings up one final, somewhat philosophical thought about how we communicate our past to new people.
Oh, what's that?
When we use these simple, curated words, quiet, sunny, famous for fresh fish, to describe our hometowns to a stranger at a party, it makes you wonder, are we actually describing the physical place as it realistically exists today? Or by carefully selecting the most delicious food in the most beautiful season, are we really just describing the idealized, nostalgic version of it that lives in our memory?
Wow. Are we giving them the objective map, or are we just giving them our nostalgia? Are we describing the city, or are we describing how the city made us feel when we were young? That is a beautiful thing to think about the next time someone shakes your hand, smiles, and asks, "Where are you from?" You don't have to fear the blank canvas anymore. Just drop the pin, turn on the street view, hand them a postcard, and let your home shine through.